fundamental aspects related to electromagnetic theory. Electromagnetic radiation, it's a wide spectrum, starting from 10 to the power of 4 hertz to 10 to the power of 20 hertz, even in the atomic or molecular level. The frequencies are in the electromagnetic range, even in the optical range also. Light is electromagnetic in nature. So the applications in radar system, in satellite systems, and solar energy sensing devices, and the basic communication system, these electromagnetic waves they play a very important role. So how this electromagnetic wave interacts with matter, and how an electromagnetic wave travels in space, what are their basic properties, because it's a coupling of electric field vector and magnetic field vector, and they are transverse in nature. If the direction of propagation of the direction of vibration of particles of the wave is perpendicular to the wave propagation, then it is called as transverse wave. So how it can be transmitted in a space and in a medium with constant frequency by changing its wavelength. And what is the interaction between an electric field vector, magnetic field vector, or between a material and electric medium? How the energy is transformed in the form of electromagnetic wave in different media? So what are the fundamental aspects of this electromagnetic wave theory we are going to discuss in this chapter? So for that, you need certain basics which I have explained in the last class only. But again, I'll scroll it and we'll go to the Maxwell's equations today. So these are applications of, is it visible, students?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So for communication, and also it's a coupling of time varying electric and magnetic fields which propagates in spaces and electromagnetic wave. Here it is a transverse in nature, and the distance between two successive Cressard trucks is called as the wavelength. And the wide range of frequency you can see for the electromagnetic spectrum, starting from 10 to the power of 1 to 10 to the power of 12, sometimes 10 to the power of 4 to 10 to the power of 20. And the basics are the first one, divergence of a vector field. So the scalar product of operator del with the vector is called as the divergence. Operator del is a special operator, which is I into dou by dou x plus j dou by dou y plus k dou by dou z. So it links the space in three-dimensional space. Let us consider a vector A, IAX plus JAY plus KAZ. Then the divergence of A or del A can be written as del dot K, which is I dou AX by dou X plus dou AY by dou Y plus dou AZ by dou Z. So what is the physical significance? So it represents the divergence of a vector field. It represents the at any point the amount of flux diverging from that point. So if A represents the velocity of the fluid at a point, then the divergence of A will give you the rate of flow of fluid. So if a vector is flowing, A is let us take the velocity of the fluid flowing per unit time in given time, then the divergence of it gives the rate of flow of fluid. And the divergence of A zero means influx is equal to outflux or net flux is equal to zero. This is the concept of divergence. And the second one is the curl of a vector field. So the vector product of operator del, which is vector A is called as F is called as curl of a vector. So curl of F or del cross F is in the matrix form. Then you get ijk dou by dou x dou by dou y dou by dou z fx f by fz. And curl of a vector at any point gives not only the magnitude but also the axis of rotation of the vector at that point. So it has both magnitude and direction if you calculate the curl of vector. So vector quantities which are changing from one dimensional to two dimensional. Then if you use this operator, curl operator, not only you can find out the magnitude, but also the axis of rotation, the direction also you can find. This is the advantage in taking this operator curl. Then line integral, so it is one dimensional concept. The integration of a vector along a curve is called as line integral. If A is a vector and dl is the small element of length, then curl of a line integral is represented by integration of A dot dl, or we can say single integration A dot dl. To take an example, this diagram also you can say the blue colored rings is the length, it gives the line integral of vector. Some quantity is changing along the curve, then you can calculate the integration, the line integral will give the quantity. If E is electric field intensity, then the line integral will give you the electric potential at that point. So in this way, you can measure some of the units if you know the fundamental unit by this line integral. You extend this to two-dimensional, then the surface integral. So the integration of a vector over a closed surface is called as surface integral. So it is represented by double integration A dot ds. Because surface means it is two-dimensional. Integration summation basically, so it represents surface is two-dimensional. So double integration A dot ds will give you the surface integral of the given vector. If you extend further, it is space or volume. So the integration of a vector over a closed volume is called as volume integral, which is represented by triple integration of A dot dt. So these are the operators: line integral, surface integral, and volume integral. Next, there are many theorems in vector calculus that derivation part probably will be doing in mathematics, but here only the statement is required because we are using this for solving Maxwell's equations. The first one is Gauss divergence theorem. So it says that the surface integral of a vector over a closed surface is equals to the volume integral of divergence of A over a volume enclosed by the surface. So if you see this expression simply, surface integral is two-dimensional, volume integral is three-dimensional. A quantity, physical quantity, is converting from two-dimensional to three-dimensional by the divergence. So if you operate with the del, you will be getting you are converting a two-dimensional phenomenon to three-dimensional and vice versa. This is called as Gauss divergence theorem. And similarly, you have Stokes theorem. It is the conversion of a one-dimensional physical quantity into two-dimensional and vice versa. It says that the line integral of a vector taken over a closed curve is equals to the surface integral of curl of A over the surface enclosed by the curve. So here you are converting, you can convert a quantity, one-dimensional quantity to two-dimensional by the operator curl or vice versa. So you should remember these two expressions and also the statement. Whenever, even though you are doing Maxwell's equation, you should write this statement. Then only you will be getting full marks. So this you keep in mind. This we are going to apply for solving the Maxwell's equations. Now, I think I have stopped here in the last class. And small definitions we have studied in the intermediate, but here frequently we use this. So one is electric flux. So electric flux, it is defined as the total number of electric lines of force emanating from a charge. So this is called as electric flux, represented by pi of E. And E is the electric field of intensity for an elementary closed area ds. Then the electric flux is represented by pi E is equal to double integration E dot ds. So it is a surface phenomena, number of lines per unit area. That's why it is a two-dimensional phenomena. The electric flux pi E is equal to double integration E dot ds. Similarly, you have magnetic flux. The same concept is the same. The total number of magnetic lines of force passing through a surface is called magnetic flux, represented by pi b. If B is the magnetic field intensity of an elementary area, closed area ds, then magnetic flux is given by pi b is equal to double integration B dot ds. So magnetic flux is also a surface phenomena, number of lines crossing per unit area. So it is represented by pi b is equal to double integration B dot ds. If you want to write these two definitions, because frequently you will be using this in Maxwell's equations and their electromagnetic field. Write down this. The total number of electric lines of force emanating from a charge is called electric flux pi E. If E is electric field intensity for an elementary closed area ds, then electric flux pi E is equal to double integration E dot ds. Or pi is equal to Ea cos theta also in terms of geometry, you can say. That is the number of electric lines of force emanating from the charge perpendicular to the area. Similarly, magnetic flux is the total number of magnetic lines of force passing through a surface is magnetic flux pi b, and it is given by pi b is double integration B dot ds, where B is the magnetic intensity or magnetic induction and the ds is elementary closed area. This also, you should remember all this divergence. What is divergence of a vector? Curl of a vector, line integral, surface integral, volume integral, then electric flux, Gauss divergence theorem, Stokes theorem, then electric flux and magnetic flux. This you should remember. Shall I proceed? Students, girls?
Yes, sir.
Boys, now actual syllabus will be starting. Maxwell's equations, basic laws of electricity and magnetism, Maxwell's equations. Please take the heading, Maxwell's equation. This is very, very important. Definitely will be getting this question every year. Every year, either in first sem or second sem, repeatedly they are giving this. And you should listen this carefully. Because here there is two things are there. You should remember and you should learn the concept. Both are there. Sometimes if you by heart you can put it on paper. Sometimes if you know the concept you can represent in the paper. But here in Maxwell's equations you have to be you should have both the memory as well as the logic. If you understood this, I think in entire EC for different chapters it will be cakewalk for you. So listen this carefully. So Maxwell, he has formulated the basic laws of electricity and magnetism in the form of four fundamental equations, both in differential form and integral form. These equations are called as Maxwell's equations. So actually, the laws of electricity and magnetism are their observations. So in first experiment was conducted, and based on the experiment, some results were drawn, and from that, a theory is established for that. Like that also is possible. Sometimes initially, the scientist will imagine something, then he proposes some concept, and basing on the concept, an experiment was conducted. Finally, it is matched with the theory. That also will be there in the research, and this is a reverse way. So first, experiments were conducted, and some conclusions were drawn, and from that, some mathematical equations are generated. So initially, the law of electricity, magnetism, these are observations. By these observations, some mathematical reform equations were given, and Maxwell actually formulated these basic laws of electricity and magnetism in the form of four fundamental equations, both in integral form and differential form. These are called as Maxwell's equations. So in electromagnetism, four fundamental laws are there. The basic laws, they are, first one is the Gauss law of electricity, second one the Gauss law of magnetism, third one Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and the fourth one is Ampere's law. So these are the four fundamental equations, basic laws for electricity and magnetism. And also you should remember the first two, Gauss law of electricity and the Gauss law for magnetism, they represent the steady field. Current flows or magnetic field in the steady field. But here, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction and Ampere's law, they represent the varying field. What is this variation? Variation means the conversion of electric field into magnetic field or magnetic field into electric field. The first two are, first equation exclusively explains the nature of electric field. The second, Gauss law of magnetism exclusively explains the magnetic property of a material or how a magnetic field will be passing through the device or in a dielectric medium. And the third and fourth equations, they are representing varying fields. So the conversion of electric field and magnetic field, and also the conversion of magnetic field into electric field. So the first two represent the steady fields, and third and fourth they represent the varying fields. And Maxwell tried to formulate these basic laws of electricity and magnetism in the differential and integral forms. These are popularly called as Maxwell's equations. So for memory sake, you write this one. Maxwell formulated the basic laws of electricity and magnetism. Maxwell formulated the basic laws of electricity and magnetism in the form of four fundamental equations. In the form of four fundamental equations. In bracket to write down integral and differential forms. Integral and differential forms, and these are called as Maxwell's equations. These are called as Maxwell's equations. The basic laws are, the first one, Gauss law of electricity. Second one, Gauss law of magnetism. Third one, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Fourth one, Ampere's law. Gauss law of electricity, Gauss law for magnetism, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, Ampere's law. So these are the fundamental laws, and these are the observations. Experiments were conducted, some conclusions were drawn, and Maxwell tried to give these expressions in some by some equations, both in integral form and differential form. So first we will give the statement what actually Gauss law of electricity and the interpretation. Then how Maxwell gave the integral form and differential form. So these are Maxwell's equations. So the first one is Maxwell's first equation. Please take the heading Maxwell's first equation. So first we should give the statement of Gauss law of electricity. So as I said, the Maxwell's first equation describes Gauss law of electricity. So it states that the total electric flux, that is electric flux is represented by pi e over any closed surface area is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed by the surface. So this is the statement of Gauss law of electricity. It states that the total electric flux is represented by one minute, small correction is there here. The total electric flux is represented by pi e. See here, and it is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times the total net charge enclosed by the surface. This is an experiment. By performing the experiment, it was concluded that the electric flux, that is number of electrical lengths of force emanating from a charge through a closed area, is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge enclosed by the surface. How much charge is there? So 1 by epsilon naught times, where epsilon naught is permittivity of free space and Q is the net charge. Or it can be written as pi is equal to, just now we have observed the expression for electric flux of pi is equal to double integration E dot ds, where E is the electric field or electric field intensity or electric field. And according to the definition, this is 1 by epsilon naught times Q, or it can be written as Q by epsilon naught. This is equation 1. So Maxwell's first equation describes Gauss law of electricity, according to which the total electric flux of I over a closed surface area is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times the total net charge enclosed by the surface. You should remember this definition. That is, according to the definition, pi e, electric flux is pi e, that is given by double integration E dot ds, which is equal to, according to the definition, it is 1 by epsilon naught Q, because it is 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge, which is nothing but Q by epsilon naught. Equation 1, where Q is the charge, epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space, E is the electric field over closed surface area ds. And this equation 1, it is called as integral form of Maxwell's first equation. You want to write? Shall I give notes? Students? Boys? Somebody respond? Girls?
Sir, give us notes.
PDF.
Shall I send this? After that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I will proceed. So this is Maxwell's integral form of Maxwell's first equation. Now you should write differential form. So according to the definition, the net charge over a closed volume is given by Q is equal to triple integration of rho dot E. So the expression for Q is, it is triple integration charge over a volume. It is a three-dimensional concept charges. So Q is equal to triple integration rho dot E, where rho is the charge density, which is equation 2. Actually, in equation 1, you have double integration E dot ds is equal to Q by epsilon naught. So instead of this Q, you should substitute triple integration rho dot d. So from equations 1 and 2, you can write double integration E dot ds is equal to, I bring we can bring 1 by epsilon naught from outside the integration. So it is 1 by epsilon naught triple integration rho dot d, because Q is replaced with triple integration rho dot V. This is equation 3. Now you have to apply Gauss divergence theorem. It is represented in equation 4. According to Gauss divergence theorem, the surface integral of E over a closed surface ds is equals to the volume integral of divergence of E taken over a volume enclosed by the surface. You should write this statement here. It was not represented, but what actually Gauss divergence theorem is the conversion of a two-dimensional quantity into three-dimensional quantity by divergence. So, according to Gauss divergence theorem, the surface integral of a vector E over a closed surface is equals to the volume integral of divergence of E taken over a volume enclosed by the surface. Or mathematically, it is double integration E dot ds is equal to triple integration del dot E or div del dot E into dv equation 4. So if you compare equation 3 and 4, the left hand side you have double integration of E dot ds. So you can equate the right hand side. That's what we did here. So triple integration del dot E dv is equal to 1 by epsilon naught triple integration rho into dv. So by taking the similarity, finally you can write del dot E is equal to rho by epsilon naught. This is equation 5, and del dot E is equal to rho by epsilon naught represents the differential form of Maxwell's first equation. Is this clear? Should I explain once? Students? Boys?
Sir, we have to write theory or questions will get, sir?
Where? What is your doubt?
Sir, from this we will get questions on calculation part or theory, sir?
Theory only. Derive Maxwell's first equation. No problem.
Okay,
The
sir.
same what I have given in the PPT as it is you should write. Once again, in brief, I explain. Maxwell's first equation, it describes the Gauss law of electricity. According to Gauss law of electricity, the total electric flux pi E over a closed area is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times the total net charge enclosed by the surface. Or it is pi E is equal to, already we have discussed, pi E is double integration of E dot ds. That is equal to, according to the definition, it is 1 by epsilon naught times q, or it simply can be written as q by epsilon naught, where q is the charge, epsilon naught is permittivity of free space, and E is the electric field over the surface ds. And equation 1 is called as the integral form of Maxwell's first equation. Now you should obtain differential form. The expression for charge q is given by q is triple integration of rho dot dv. It's a three-dimensional phenomena where rho is the charge density. So from equation 1 and 2, in equation 1 instead of q, you have to substitute triple integration rho dot dv. Therefore, you will be getting double integration E dot ds is equal to 1 by epsilon naught triple integration rho dot dv, because 1 by epsilon can be brought outside. Then you have to apply Gauss divergence theorem. According to Gauss divergence theorem, the surface integral of E over a closed surface ds is equals to the volume integral of divergence of E taken over a volume enclosed by the surface. Or mathematically, double integration E dot ds is equal to triple integration del dot E dv. If you compare 3 and 4, you can write triple integration del dot E dv is equal to 1 by epsilon naught triple integration rho dv. From this, finally, you can obtain that del dot E is equal to rho by epsilon naught. This equation, this is the differential form of Maxwell's first equation. Del dot E is equal to rho by epsilon naught. This is the differential form of Maxwell's first equation. Now then, it is Maxwell's second equation. So Maxwell's second equation, it describes Gauss law of magnetism. Gauss law for magnetism. The law states that the net magnetic flux through a closed surface is equal to 0. So when you consider a closed surface, then the net magnetic flux or influx is equal to outflux. That is, net magnetic flux is 0. This is called as Gauss law of magnetism. That means pi b is equal to 0, or in a general way you can write pi b is equal to the magnetic flux is represented by double integration of v dot ds. that is equal to 0. This is equation 1, and this equation 1 gives the integral form of Maxwell's second equation. So phi b is equal to double integration b dot ds is equal to 0. This is the integral form of Maxwell's second equation. If you see this one, you know that the magnetic lines of induction are closed curves. So you have north pole and the south pole, and they will be converging from the surface. So if we construct any closed surface in a magnetic field, if we consider any closed surface, then every magnetic lines of force that enters the area must also leave from the area. That means how many number of magnetic lines of force are coming inside the surface area, the same number is leaving outside the area. That is, net influx is equal to net outflux, or net flux over a closed surface is 0, which is Gauss law for magnetism. Or mathematically, it is represented by phi by is equal to 0, but phi b is equal to double integration b dot ds. Therefore, phi b is equal to double integration b dot ds is equal to 0 is the integral form of Maxwell's second equation. Now you should give differential form. So we have from equation 1, the surface integral b dot ds is equal to 0. Now you should apply Gauss divergence theorem. According to Gauss divergence theorem, the surface integral of b over a closed surface is equals to the volume integral of divergence of b taken over a volume enclosed by the surface. That is, double integration b dot ds is equal to triple integration del dot b dv, that is equal to 0. Or if you compare this, then you can write, because double integration b dot ds is equal to 0, therefore you can write del dot b or del b is equal to 0 is the differential form of Maxwell's second equation. Is it clear, students?
Yes, sir.
Boys, you should remember this. There is no option for this.
Yes.
Shall I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
This is Maxwell's second equation. Anyhow, you will send this PPT. You have to remember this, and you should find the logic here. Next one, Maxwell's third equation. Take the heading, third equation. Before going to this Maxwell's third equation, so it describes Faraday's law. You should understand what actually Faraday's law. I think you have Faraday's law in intermediate or CBCS 11th or 10th standard. So according to Faraday's law, when the magnetic flux linked with the circuit is changed, an induced EMF is produced in the circuit. So as I said, it is a varying field. You are changing magnetic field and some EMF is produced, electric field is produced. So in the Faraday's law, when the magnetic flux, you take a closed circuit, and when the magnetic flux is changing in the circuit, then you can observe that some EMF, electromotive force, or some potential is produced, induced potential is produced or set up in the circuit, and this is called as Faraday's law. So you should remember the statement: when the magnetic flux linked with the circuit changes, an induced EMF is produced in the circuit. This is called as Faraday's law. And the magnitude of induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux, that is dou by d by dou t. And again it was modified. Lenge's law, he gave some directional convention. From Lenge's law, the direction of the induced EMF is opposite to the magnetic flux. So mathematically it can be written as E is equal to minus dou by d by dou t, where E is the EMF, phi v is the magnetic flux. So this is equation 1. E is equal to minus dou by d by dou t. So Faraday law says that whenever the magnetic flux linked with the circuit is changes, then an induced EMF will be produced in the circuit. And the magnitude of the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux. And Lenge's law states that the induced EMF is opposite to the magnetic flux. So you should put the negative side. So you can write E is equal to minus dou by d by dou t is modified Faraday's law, which is equation 1, where phi v is magnetic flux, E is EMF produced. If you see this equation 1, E is related to the electric field, and in the right side you have magnetic flux. So there is a link between electromotive force and magnetic flux. That's why it is a varying field. And also the electric field expression for EMF is given by line integral of E dot dl. Because in the definition of line integral, I gave this example. If E represents the electric field intensity, then the line integral of capital E will give you the potential or EMF. So the same I have written here. E is equal to EMF is equal to line integral of E dot dl, where E is the electric field, dl is the length of infinitesimal point on a closed curve. So from these two equations we can write line integral of E dot dl is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t, which is the integral form of Maxwell's third equation. Equation 3 represents the integral form of Maxwell's third equation. So first you should note what is actually Faraday's law, and also the observation is the induced EMF is directly proportional to rate of change of magnetic flux, that is dou pi v by dou t. And according to Lentz's law, both are opposite in nature. So you can write E is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t. But E is equal to line integral E dot dl, capital E dot dl, where capital E is electric field intensity. Therefore, line integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t is the integral form of Maxwell's third equation. Now you should obtain Maxwell's third equation in differential form. So we know that the magnetic flux pi v is equal to surface integral b dot ds, or double integration b dot ds. From equation 3 we have line integral E dot dl, E dl is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t. Just now this is the integral form of Maxwell's third equation. So in this it can be written as line integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou by dou t. Pi v can be written as double integration b dot ds, or surface integral b dot ds. So it can be further written as negative sign and double integration dou v by dou t into ds. So this is equation 4. Now you have to apply Stokes theorem. According to Stokes theorem, the line integral of E along a closed curve dl is equal L is equals to the surface integral of curl of E taken over a surface enclosed by the curve. So that is mathematically line integral E dot dl is equal to surface integral del cross T ds, equation 5. So from 4 and 5 you can write, actually this is equation 4. So from equations 4 and 5, because in the left hand side you have line integral E dot dl, so you can equate RHS. So surface integral del cross T ds is equal to minus surface integral dou v by dou t ds. Or finally you can write del cross T is equal to minus dou v by dou t, equation 6, which is the differential form of Maxwell's third equation. Again I'll explain, you listen this carefully. So Maxwell's third equation describes Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, according to which the magnetic flux linked with the circuit, whenever it changes, an induced EMF will be produced in the circuit, and the induced EMF is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux, or E is equal to dou pi v by dou t. And according to Lentz's law, the induced EMF is opposite to the magnetic flux. Therefore, we can write induced EMF E is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t, equation 1. But the expression for EMF E is equal to line integral E dot dl, according to the definition. If E is the electric field, then the line integral of E will give you the EMF or potential. So E is equal to line integral E dot dl. From equations 1 and 2, we can write line integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t. This is the integral form of Maxwell's third equation. And now we should obtain differential form. Further, we know that the magnetic flux pi v is equal to surface integral v dot ds. From equation 3, we have line integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou pi v by dou t. Instead of pi v, you should substitute double integration v dot ds. Therefore, line integral E dot dl is equal to minus dou by dou t surface integral v dot ds, or it is minus double integration dou v by dou t ds, equation 4. Now we should apply Stokes theorem. According to Stokes theorem, the line integral E dot dl, the line integral of E along a closed curve is equals to the surface integral of curl of E taken over a surface enclosed by the curve. That is, line integral E dot dl is equal to surface integral del cross E ds. If you compare equation 4 and 5, you can write the surface integral del cross E ds is equal to minus surface integral dou v by dou t. And from the similarity, you can write del cross E is equal to minus dou v by dou t. Equation 6 is the differential form of Maxwell's third equation. If you clearly observe this equation, in the LHS, the spatial operator is operated with E, electric field, and as a result, in the right hand side, you are getting the rate of change of magnetic flux. That means conversion of electric field into magnetic field and vice versa. So it is a time varying field, which is a varying field, and Maxwell gave both integral and differential form for this expression. So this is Maxwell's third equation, which describes Faraday law of electromagnetic induction. And finally, you have Maxwell's fourth equation. Take the heading, Maxwell's fourth equation. And Maxwell's fourth equation, it describes Ampere's law. So the equation is the statement of Ampere's law. According to Ampere's law, the line integral of magnetic induction, that means the integration of magnetic induction over a closed curve, is equals to mu naught times the net current through the area bounded by the curve, where mu naught is the permeability of free space. According to Ampere's law, it describes that the integration of magnetic induction, that means the total magnetic induction along a closed curve, is equals to mu naught times the current I through the area bounded by the curve. Or it can be written as line integral of magnetic induction is integration of v dot dl. This is equals to mu naught times, according to the definition, mu naught times the net current. Or integration v dot dl is equal to mu naught I is equation 1, which is the integral form of Maxwell's fourth equation, where V is magnetic field and mu naught is permeability of free space and I is the net current through the area bounded by the curve. And equation 1 represents the integral form of Maxwell's fourth equation. And coming to the differential form, the expression for net current is it's a two-dimensional phenomena. So current I is equal to double integration J dot ds, where J is the current density. The different expression for current is I is equal to double integration J dot ds, where J is the current density, equation 2. So in equation 1, instead of I, you can substitute the double integration J dot ds. So from 1 and 2, you can write line integral V dot dl is equal to mu naught into double integration J dot ds. Just to replace I with double integration J dot ds according to the definition. So now we should have to apply Stokes theorem. According to Stokes theorem, the line integral of V along a closed curve is equals to the surface integral of curl of V taken over a surface enclosed by the curve. The same Stokes theorem we are applying here. You should write the statement also here. Don't simply write the expression, you write the statement also. So line integral V dot dl is equal to surface integral del cross V ds, which is equation 4. So if you compare these two, 3 and 4, the upper one is equation 3. 1 minute, I put that as this is equation 3. So from comparing equations 3 and 4, you can write if you compare equations 3 and 4, you will be getting double integration del cross B ds is equal to mu naught double integration J dot ds, because mu naught is a constant permeability of free space. So, or the same can be written as double integration mu naught J ds. From this, you can write del cross B is equal to mu naught J, is the differential form of Maxwell's fourth equation. If you see this expression, the Laplacian operator del is operated with the B, which is a magnetic field. As an outcome, we are getting permeability into the current density J. That means conversion of magnetic field into electric field and vice versa. That is, it is a time varying field. So that two expressions 3 and 4, they are for varying fields. The first two, Maxwell's first equation, second equation, they are for steady fields. So Maxwell's fourth equation, it describes Ampere's law, according to which the total magnetic induction along a closed curve or line integral of magnetic induction is equals to mu naught times the net current through the area bounded by the curve, or line integral of BDL, that is integration BDL is equal to mu naught I, where B is magnetic induction, mu naught is permeability of free space, I is the current. This is the integral form of Maxwell's fourth equation. And for the differential form, you know the net current I is represented by double integration J dot ds, where J is the current density. So in equation 1, instead of I, you substitute double integration J ds. So it can be written as line integral BDL is equal to mu naught double integration J ds. From Stokes' theorem, we have line integral BDL is equal to surface integral del cross B ds. So it can be written as line integral surface integral del cross B ds is equal to surface integral mu naught J ds, or del cross B is equal to mu naught J. So this is the differential form of Maxwell's fourth equation. So describe and derive Maxwell's equations, you should write all the four. So you will be getting for 6 to 7 marks. You should be smart enough so that you can understand and you should write. So the basic laws of electricity and magnetism are Gauss law of electricity, Gauss law of magnetism, Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, and Ampere's law. So first you Maxwell's first equation, first you define what is Gauss law of electricity. Electric flux is equals to 1 by epsilon naught times the net charge, that is Q by epsilon naught. You will be getting integral form. Then you define what actually the charge, which is a three-dimensional phenomena, triple integration rho dV. Then you apply Gauss divergence theorem, you will be getting del dot V is equal to rho by epsilon. Second one, Maxwell's second equation, the divergence of a magnetic flux over a closed surface is 0. The net flux is 0, that is the div B is equal to 0 and del dot B is equal to 0. And the third one describes the Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction, E is equal to minus dou by B by dou T, or finally you will be getting del cross E is equal to minus dou B by dou T. And the fourth one describes Ampere's law, that is del cross B is equal to mu naught J, is the differential form of Maxwell's fourth equation. So these are the basic laws of electricity and magnetism, and Maxwell formulated these fundamental equations by 4 differential and integral forms, which are known as Maxwell's equations. And small topic is there, concept of conduction current and displacement current. I will explain that and I will stop there. So next you take the heading conduction current and displacement current. If you have time, you draw this circuit also. So all we are aware of this conduction current, which follows normal Ohm's law. When certain voltage is applied in a medium, for a medium, it generates certain current, and V is proportional to I, or V is equal to IR. So R is the resistance, I is called as conduction current. But in empty space, there is no medium. So how the electric and magnetic fields are present, because light travels in space, even electromagnetic waves are traveling in space. How the magnetic fields are generated? Because there is no conduction current. So to explain that, Maxwell proposed another concept which is called as displacement current. So the concept of displacement current is introduced by Maxwell to account for the production of magnetic fields in empty space. Because in empty space or dielectric medium, the conduction current is 0 because they won't follow Ohm's law, and the presence of magnetic fields are entirely due to this displacement current. So due to the displacement of charges, some magnetic field is produced, and this current, this is called as displacement current. So to understand the concept of displacement current, you consider a simple circuit. A voltage is given simultaneously to a resistor R and the capacitor C in the circuit. That I1 is the current through the voltmeter and I2 is the current through the capacitor. So the nature of the current that flows through this voltmeter is different. The resistor is different than the nature of the current that flows through a capacitor. That you can understand. So because to explain the concept of conduction current and the displacement current, consider the circuit. A constant voltage is a voltage source is given to a resistor and capacitor simultaneously as shown in the figure. So when a voltage is applied to a resistor and a capacitor, then the nature of the current that flows through the resistor is different than the current that flows through the capacitor. So through a resistor, whenever a constant voltage across a resistor, it produces a continuous flow of current and which follows Ohm's law. But in the capacitor, on the other hand, there will be a current through the capacitor only when the voltage is changing. So when constant voltage is given, a continuous flow of current will be there and through the resistor which follows Ohm's law. But whereas in the capacitor, whenever the voltage is changing, then only certain current is generated. So the current through the resistor is called as conduction current represented by J conduction, while the current through the capacitor is called as displacement current. So as a gist you can understand the current that flows through a resistor ordinarily is the conduction current that follows Ohm's law, and only whenever a varying field is given to a capacitor, then only distribution of charges takes place, displacement of charges takes place, and it causes certain current, and this current is called as displacement current represented by J displacement. So you should obtain an expression for conduction current and displacement current. So let us assume a voltage V passes through a resistor, then the actual current that flows through the conducting medium and obeys Ohm's law is called as conduction current, which is represented by I1 is equal to V by R. So where V is the voltage, R is the resistance, and I1 is the current flows through the resistor. And the current density J conduction is in the resistor is given by J conduction is equal to sigma into E, where sigma is the conductivity of the medium and E is the electric field. This is equation, but it follows ordinary laws. Ohm's law also, I1, you know, V is equal to I1R or I1 is equal to V by R. So the current that flows through the conducting medium in the presence of resistor is the conduction current, and J conduction is sigma into E, where sigma is the conductivity of the medium and E is the electric field intensity. Now coming to the displacement current, you should remember this definition also. Displacement current. So displacement current, it is the current which is set up in the dielectric medium or empty space due to the variation of induced displacement charges produced by varying electric field. So you have to vary the electric field. Because of the variation of electric field, the displacement of charges takes place. They generate certain current which is displacement current. Because of this current, some magnetic fields are present in the dielectric medium or empty space. So you should remember this definition. Displacement current is the current that is set up in the dielectric medium or empty space due to the variation of induced displacement charges produced by varying electric field. It is represented by capital T, the displacement current. It is represented by D. D is equal to epsilon into D. The units are current per area. Epsilon is permittivity of medium. E is the electric field. So to derive D is equal to epsilon A, small derivation is there. We know that in a medium, you know that the capacitance C is equal to epsilon A by D, where epsilon is permittivity of medium, A is the area of cross section, and D is the thickness of dielectric slab. And whenever a varying field is given, certain current is produced in the capacitor represented by I2. So the expression for current I2 is equal to dou Q by dou T. The rate of change of charge is called as current. So I2 is equal to dou Q by dou T, where Q is the charge. But you know that Q is equal to C into V. So I2 can be written as dou by dou T of C, because Q is equal to CV, where C is the capacitance, V is the voltage. Again, it can be written as I2 is equal to, you can bring C out, so C into dou V by dou T. Again, I2 is equal to, the C can be written as epsilon A by D. So it is epsilon A by D into dou V by dou T. Then, again I will explain this. I2 is equal to epsilon A by D into dou by dou T of V can be written as E into D, where E is electric field, D is the thickness of the sample. So it can be written as epsilon A by D. The D can be taken out. So it is D into dou E by dou T. So these two D's, D and D, which is numerator and denominator, can be cancelled. So finally, you will be getting I2 is equal to epsilon A dou E by dou T. The expression for current density, J displacement, is the current per unit area, which is I2 by A. You have I2 is epsilon A into dou E by dou T by A. So AA gets cancelled. J displacement is equal to dou by dou T of epsilon E. Now let us assume D, capital D, is equal to epsilon E, which is displacement current. Therefore, J displacement is equal to dou D by dou T. So the total current, it is the combination of sum of both in the conduction current and displacement current. Therefore, J total is equal to J conduction plus J displacement. Conduction current is sigma E plus displacement current is dou D by dou T. This represents the total current present in a given circuit, in a given material. In a material, a part of it is a conducting material, a part may be act as a dielectric material. So it's a combination of both conduction current and displacement current. If it is a purely a dielectric material, then it should be dou D by dou T only. If it is purely a metal, it is sigma E. So some different materials, it is sigma E plus dou D by dou T. This is the concept of displacement current. So the concept of displacement current is introduced by Maxwell to account for the production of magnetic fields in empty space. Because in empty space the conduction current is zero, but magnetic field is present because electromagnetic wave, they travels even in space or dielectric medium. So it's a combination of or coupling of both electric field and magnetic field. How magnetic field is present? It is because of the displacement current. So to understand the concept of displacement current, consider a circuit. A voltage is given simultaneously, both a resistor of resistance R and a capacitor C. Let I1 is the current through the resistor and I2 is the current through the capacitor. The nature of the current that flows through the resistor is different than the current that flows through a capacitor. A constant voltage across a resistor will be producing a continuous flow of current, which is called as conduction current. But there will be a current through the capacitor only when the voltage is changed. So the current through the resistor is conduction current. The current through the capacitor is called as displacement current, and is represented by J displacement. So conduction current, it obeys ordinary Ohm's law. When voltage V is given, some current I1 is generated, and I1 is equal to V by R. And the current density J conduction is given by sigma into E, where sigma is the conductivity of the medium and E is the electric field. And you should define displacement current. Displacement current is the current set up in the dielectric medium due to the variation of induced displacement charges produced by varying electric field. So you have to change the voltage, then displacement of charges takes place. Because of that, some current is generated and magnetic fields are present. And this current is called as displacement current D, represented by epsilon E. And we know that the capacitance C is equal to epsilon A by D, where epsilon is permittivity of medium, A is area of cross section, and D is the thickness of the sample. And the current through the capacitor I2 is equal to dou Q by dou T. But Q is equal to CV. Therefore, I2 is equal to dou by dou T of CV. C can be taken out. So it is I2 is equal to C into dou V by dou T. But C is equal to epsilon A by D. So I2 is equal to epsilon A by D into dou V by dou T. But V is equal to E into D, where E is the electric field and D is the thickness of the sample. So D can also be taken out. Those D's in the numerator and denominator gets cancelled. Then I2 is equal to epsilon A dou E by dou T. The current density J displacement is current per unit area, that is I2 by A. So AA gets cancelled. J displacement can be dou by dou T of epsilon E. Now define capital D is equal to epsilon E, which is displacement current. Then J displacement is dou D by dou T. So the total current J total is the sum of J conduction and J displacement, which is sigma E plus dou D by dou T. So this is the expression for the displacement current. So in the Maxwell's equation 4, you have a del cross B is equal to mu naught J. That J should be replaced with the J total because it is a combination of both conduction current and displacement current. So Maxwell's fourth equation can be modified. So you should modify Maxwell's fourth equation in the next class. Then the plane electromagnetic wave equation you should derive. And finally, you have one more point, that is point A. So in the next class, I'll be doing these two derivations, and before that, you go through the textbook and basic concepts you prepare for this. Otherwise, it is not as simple as such. If I explain, you feel it is very simple, but once you try to put it on paper, it will be very difficult. If you have all these statements and the fundamental concepts of line integral, surface integral, Gauss divergence theorem, etc. So at this juncture today, I'll stop here. Do you have any doubts, students? So I'll take attendance now. Next, which class you have, students?
Drawing, sir.
Okay. Yesterday I have shared the PPT for wave mechanics, and after finishing this chapter, I'll do these notes also. And when you are coming to the lab tomorrow, first internal original scripts you should submit, because for inspection purpose we need those. So without fail, you must submit those answer scripts for me. And assignment in the next week, tomorrow you must submit the records also for experiments what you have completed. And in the manual, different numbers will be there. But as per your order, suppose you have got any experiment, first experiment, that you can take it as number one only. Not as per the manual number, as per your number, you should name and give number for your experiment. Because every batch will be doing different experiments. So you should write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever may be the name number in the manual. You have asked yesterday, that's why I am clarifying. So while writing the record, first you complete the write-up part in the right side, and only circuits, figures, tables should be there in the left side, and the left side tables value should be entered with pencil only. Don't use pen. Right hand write-up part should be with the pen only. This you keep and write neatly record, because sometimes the external examiner may see these record books also. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the tomorrow session. Roll number 61.
Present, sir.
Sir, we have,
Yes. What do you
sir,
write?
after completion of experiment, some questions are there, sir. We have to write that
Only,
also, sir.
no need to write. Only for Viva. In the external exam, the questions may be asked as Viva. No need to write. Okay.
Okay, sir.
61, 62,
Present, sir.
62,
Present, sir. 62.
63.